You've broken your program down into functions, but now maybe you have hundreds of functions, and a team of programmers is in there every day making changes to the code. With all of these moving pieces, how is it possible that this program isn't constantly broken? The secret? Testing. Tests can come in many forms, like performance tests or end-to-end tests. But in most cases, that unit test tests a single unit of functionality at a time. In most cases, that unit is a function. With unit tests, we can define the requirements for a function in code. For example, my unit test might validate that when I call my function with the arguments 5 wheat and 1 ore, that I get the return value false. If that assertion is correct and I do get back false, then the test passes. But if we get a different return value from the one the test expects, then the test fails. Teams can automate their unit test to run anytime someone makes a change to the function, and they can block that change from being submitted until all the related unit tests pass. This effectively enforces the requirements, so programmers don't accidentally break things when they make a change. Either we fix the function to make the unit test pass, or if we thought twice about it and we're confident that it's safe to change the requirements, then we can update the unit test to reflect that new expected behavior and submit that along with our code change. That way the unit tests stay a living contract of the function's requirements. But how do I know which tests to write? Writing just one test case doesn't really do a whole lot, because my unit test would still pass even if my function just always returned 4. So I haven't really proven anything about my function logic. I could write a test for every possible input value, but that's probably not the most efficient use of my time. Instead, programmers try and work for a goal of code coverage. As a whole, we want our test cases to execute every possible path of execution through the function. So we try and identify different classes of inputs and write a test case for each of those. For example, with our getRouteScore function, we would at least want a test case for each of these conditional branches. So our classes of inputs would be less than or equal to 2 trains, 3 trains, 4 trains, and greater than or equal to 5 trains. With those representative inputs, we've anticipated and proven out all the reasonable ways that someone might call our function. Of course, the testing process isn't always perfect. We may miss a test case, or we might make compromises on code coverage in the interest of time. If we do find a bug later, we just want to make sure we learn from that mistake. So most programming teams will go back in and add a test for that exact failure case to enforce that the same bug never happens twice. Okay, great, but how do I actually write unit tests? The principles stay the same, but the exact syntax varies depending on which unit testing framework you use. In Python, many programmers use the unit test module or the PyTest module. Here's an example test suite written with the unit test framework. I have 7 test cases, and you can see that they're basically all the same. I only change the name, the argument I pass to the getRouteScore function, and the expected result I compare to. When I run it, I can see that one of my test cases is failing. It tells me the name of the failing test case and the assertion that failed. Here, I got the result -2 instead of the expected 0. So I know my function must have a bug somewhere, because it doesn't work when I call it with a negative argument. As you can see, a lot of unit testing
All right, first off, I mock your mocks. This is by Lane. If you don't know Lane, boot.dev. Great stuff. Learn back-end development by writing real code. So it's like a site to learn stuff with. You know what I'm talking about? This is technically a sponsored read. I want to say that right now, okay? But I get the opportunity to say what I want about it, and I get to pick the topic, and this is a great topic. This is perfectly what I want to talk about because I have many, many strong feelings about mocks. Yeah, sponsored. Hashtag ad. I gotta say it up front because I want to be an honest individual, okay? Okay? Several years ago, I started my first job as a senior Go developer. A lot of scare quotes going on here. You see, after a modest 3 years in the industry, my arcane ability to use Go standard library string contains function managed to leave a powerful impression on the hiring team. Yes. Okay, so first off, he may not realize what he's saying, but there is something that's really good here, which is know your language, you dummies. You walk into an interview, you could just magic them with some really simple stuff that's just available because that's what's available in your language. Just know the things. Yep, as a senior developer, only a few years out of college with no kids and a six-figure salary, life was looking pretty easy. Well, it would have been easy. It would have been easy if the mind-numbing gelatinous corporation goo known as Java, it runs on billions of devices, by the way, hadn't chipped away at the once great minds of my new colleagues. Java, by the way. Oh no. Oh no. Corbett needs you to find the difference. Okay, that's actually a really good meme. This is a really good meme. Hard drugs, free basing. Actually, that's just straight banging heroin. We're talking about my struggles with unit tests at this new company and mocks and heroin injection. Or I mean dependency injection. To be honest, they're both just as bad for you. I am on the same team. In general, I am a huge advocate for never mocking. I'm on team never mock, okay? Okay? Never mocker right here, okay? Before we do that, let me tell you a quick story to give you some context on this new job. Fix and go. I'm not 30 minutes into my new job, still homebrew installing a bunch of nonsense, when a coworker, let's call him Bill. Bill. It's no Tom. I'll tell you that much. There's no Tom right now. Spins around and says, "Hey, you're the new Go guy, right?" "Yeah." Go's the worst. Luckily for you, I fixed Go's biggest problem." If someone actually says this, like, "Hey, I fixed TypeScript's biggest problem," I know immediately that whatever they fixed is probably worse than the thing itself. I hate to say it, but you're not making things better, okay? You're not doing a good job. Bill's the genius in this story. I smell a Tom. I smell a Tom. I've re-added try catch to the language. No more if error equals nil.
Welcome to Costco.
They say if your hand is bigger than your head, you're likely to get cancer later in life. By the way, that was a joke from the 90s to get kids to put their hands on their faces and then you hit their hand, and so that they hit their own face. Okay? That's pretty much what you're doing right here. This is the exact same joke, except for it's in code, and you don't get to hit your face once. You get to do it every single time you program. you don't get to hit your face once. You get to do it every single time you program. Did that all the time. Everyone did it. It was a great joke. It worked every time. Take a look at the elegance of Bill's new feature. Funked, try catch, funked, panic, errors new, I'm scared, funked, error, print, caught. Wondering how Bill achieved this level of syntactic sugar? Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. It just bastardized the panic, recover, and defer syntactic sugar. Funked, error, print, caught. Try catch, funked, panic, errors new, I'm scared, funked, error, print, caught. Wondering how Bill achieved this level of syntactic sugar? Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. It just bastardized the panic, recover, and defer keywords. Oh gosh, the defer? Oh no. Oh no. Try catch. Funk, catch, funk, error, this. Oh my goodness, it's even a named. I hate naked returns. This is the devil, by the way. This is the biggest crime against humanity. This is Go's worst feature. Naked returns are disgusting. TJ was right about it. Absolutely, TJ was right about it because you have no clue what the F is going on. Ugh! Naked returns are the devil. Are tight? No, they're not. They're tight with the devil, okay? Running some tests. After a riveting discussion with Bill about the virtues of errors as values, I'm on camp errors as values any day of the week. I was able to dive into my first Jira ticket. This is correct. This is 100% correct. I need to implement a new feature on an existing backend Go service. I ran a few commands to get going. Git clone, go build, go test, failed, database connection refused. Awesome, darn. These tests failed. That's odd. Someone must have committed some broken code. Wait, why are my unit tests trying to connect to a database server? Hey, Bill, do I need to set up a local Postgre server to run the tests? Yeah, I didn't have time to write mocks for the database layer, so we just used the real database. I just want to take a really quick second to say one of the glories of SQLite is that you can point to a file even if the file doesn't exist, and it can create a database right in that file. And so therefore, for this type of test, if you truly just didn't want to mock anything, you could have a file that just has the database in a specific condition, and then just CP the file, put it in a specific location, and then run your test on it. So that is one nice part. But you know what? If you're connecting to a database on a unit test, you done jumped the shark, okay? I just want to let you know that right now. Your job is in a sunsetting position. You got to get the hell out of there. The time has come to introduce you to my philosophy on unit tests. Well, at least in as much as unit tests related to databases. We are back-end developers. 50% of the code we write takes data from HTTP requests, fiddles with it a bit, and then saves it to a database. The other 50% of our code takes data from the database, does some fiddling, and sends it back to the client in an HTTP response. You know, give or take a few percenties. Genuinely fairly well done. Here's my hot take. The fiddling bit is the only part worth unit testing. How many times have I said this? You always have the fiddling part as its own function that takes in the thing you wish to diddle. You do the diddling and you return the diddled. Like there's no Stop having functions that both get data and diddle the data, okay? It's not worth it. And yes, I'm saying diddle, not fiddle, because it's funnier, okay? It is shocking how often people don't do that, okay? It is shocking that that's not a real thing. My time in seminary, it was about diddling. What? I don't even know why I read that. Here's where I really disagree with Bill. I actually prefer his tests that run while connected to a real database. Though I prefer, I'd more prefer integration tests that run separately from the unit tests. At least with the real database, I'm testing code that actually runs in production. Mocks are perhaps the worst thing, one of the worst things to happen to back-end development. It's actually just the worst thing to happen to all development, not just back-end development, because here's the problem. It gives you all the power to do integration tests in unit tests. So you end up testing just the stupidest stuff in the universe. And don't forget, we allow JavaScript to run on the server side. I like Lane. I like Lane. I hate mocks because they don't test code that actually runs in production, which means they don't test anything. Give a delightfully false sense of security. Management loves this. These are all facts. All facts. These are all facts. These are all facts. I don't like this song that's playing. It's way too intense. We got to change the song immediately. I am not in love. I am not in love right now. All green, no red. Always green. All right. Take the following function. DB squeal user. If email address equals null, okay, see, I can already tell why you've effed up, okay? See this line right here? This line should be in a, this should all be in different function right there. This is the only thing that should be in this function. Right? This is it. This is the only thing that should be in this function. The rest, by the way, look at him. Look at this guy just raw dogging a squeal. Look at that. Can you believe there's raw dog squeal right now? Like, I mean, how would anyone ever raw dog squeal? It's impossible, right? He needs an ORM immediately. All right, so save user. Okay, there's no way to test this function without a database connection available at the time of testing. I can practically hear Bill Brew installing Postgres as I type. My humble argument is that the database logic, this part, right, should be tested in an integration test or gasps manually. I'm fine with that. However, this validation logic can easily be tested in a unit. You know, yep, this part. Yep, absolutely. Me and Lane are, like, notice we're on the same page. By the way, Lane and I had like an hour-long talk, and part of our hour-long talk involved us just hating mocks. Just for like an excessive period of time. So I'm not shocked at all that this somehow came out as an article. It's critical to remember one of the key tenets of software engineering. Your code is ass. It's facts. And because your code is ass, you shouldn't be scared to make changes. Sure, this function will require a database connection to be tested. But what if you break it down? What should we call then? Units? Yeah. The classic your code is ass problem. Classic, really. Now we have to write a neat little test. Test user, yep, bap, 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 bap. Awesome. We've tested all the validation logic we would have tested in the original function with a mock, and now we don't need to, write a stupid mock. Absolutely. Mocks cause blocks. Blocks cause talks. Talks about mocks with devs are cocks. What? Bugs with shrugs come. Bugs with lugs come. Lugs with bugs with mighty shrugs come. Look here, Mr. Dev dear. Let's stop the mocks that cause the blocks here. We can test and we can nest here, but we don't need to mock the rest here. Probably ChatGPT, but the Dr. Seuss is beautiful. Okay, mocking is akin to reading Dr. Seuss. Your mouth does a bunch of movements that your brain can't quite understand at all. This was most excellent. I love this. I'm full on this team, by the way. This is a full-on team. Stop mocking. Write better back-end code. Separate out your logic. Can we all give little claps for Lane? This was a great article. Again, this was sponsored, but still, I actually really like the article. Check out boot.dev. Imagine not using AI in the Lord's year 2020. Are you ready for the full ass course going on here? So here we go. I'm gonna skip all the additional reading because if you want to take the course, it's open. Which, by the way, you can take it without all the interactive parts, and it just works. Just so you know, you can take it without any of the interactive parts, and it works. So, right, like I'm not gonna read the introduction. There's nothing here other than like fun stories that I tell. There's a little fun story about like me the first time I got Shazammed, the first time I got one-shotted. I got one-shotted hard in college. This is why I'm a programmer. Okay, I got one-shotted twice. Once by a linked list, and once by the social network. It's that simple. Welcome to the startup. There's a few days in your life. My best days in order have been my first day at the startup, my wedding day, and birth of my first child. Here at the startup, your first task is to build an HTTP server from scratch. Imagine not using AI in the Lord's year 2025.
So really, thanks for doing that. Now, let's go write some Go code with the Primogen.
Are you ready for the full ass course going on here? So here we go. I'm gonna skip all the additional reading because if you want to take the course, it's open. Which, by the way, you can take it without any of the interactive parts, and it works. So right, like I'm not gonna read the introduction. There's nothing here other than like fun stories that I tell. There's a little fun story about like me the first time I got Shazammed, the first time I got one-shotted. I got one-shotted hard in college. This is why I'm a programmer. Okay, I got one-shotted twice. Once by a linked list, and once by the social network. It's that simple. Welcome to the startup. There's a few days in your life more magical than your first day at the startup. My best days in order have been my first day at the startup, my wedding day, and birth of my first child. Here at the startup, your first task is to build an HTTP server from scratch. A multi-billion-dollar exec hangs in the balance. Before you begin, the startup has to finalize your hiring first. We will screen all of our newbies by asking them to build a much simpler protocol first. We'll start with reading text from a file and printing it to the console. Look at that. Boop, boop. All right, here's the text. So create a new project. There we go. Create a messages.txt. Let's do this, baby boys. Messages.txt. Let's go. put that in. Put it in. Create a Go module. All right, Go mod init boot.theprimogen.tv. Let's go. Create a main.go. At the root, the simply for now, print out this string. I got the job. Okay, I got you, baby boy. Baby boy, I got you. I got you. PV main.go. Let's go. Package main, func main. Do one of those. Let's see, format, print ln. There we go. And print in that thing. There we go. Boom. And let's do that. There we go. All right, we're looking good. I think I've won. All right. I'm not even gonna try, dude. First try. First try. Dude, we need a first try counter right now. Here we go. All right, how many first tries am I gonna get? There's my first try counter. All right, there we go. We're currently at 1. Do we get 2? React is my language? Okay, well, that's unique that you have a language. I didn't realize that libraries could be languages. And boom, got another one. All right, we're going up, boys. Boys, we are going. And boom, that's unique that you have a language. I didn't realize that libraries could be languages. And boom, got another one. All right, we're going up, boys. Boys, we are going up. Okay, you can F this up so easily, right? Like eating 8 bites at a time. Eating 8 bites at a time, really easy to screw that up. Here we go. Okay, we're gonna remove this printing. Instead, program will now read messages.txt 8 bytes at a time and print out the data. Okay, true. We're gonna do a little bit of an open. We're gonna do a little bit of a